Transformers fans, we are back. We finally got to see what Transformers 1 was bringing to the table, and my goodness, this trailer looks great. We will be breaking it all down at a reasonable time, so you don't gotta hear me ramble too much about how awesome this trailer is. So, we pick up on what seems to be a room with Orion and Megatron, or in this movie, he is called D16. And so we have Orion ask, how long do you think we'll be here? Which in D16 says he's not talking to him and brings up how they are so screwed, which makes us believe that they ended up doing some, good old-fashioned rabble-rousing, which then leads them to get sent to waste management as a punishment. We actually see this guard of sorts grab them, and this is actually Darkwing, which is really cool. Also, shout out to TF Hype Guy for pointing out most of the characters in this trailer. So Orion and D16 get sent to waste management, where they see B127, aka Bumblebee, and he introduces himself and even brings up that he's working on some nicknames. And that one he's been working on is Badassatron, which is just funny. Like, it's just goofy humor like that. But the trailer transitions here and brings up how before he was Optimus Prime, he was Orion Pax, which is one of the reasons why this movie is so interesting to me. And I can understand why some people are confused with this plot point, and some might not even know that Orion Pax was an original character, since nowadays in TF media we don't really see or talk about him anymore. But basically, Orion Pax is almost a different person compared to Optimus, as Orion Pax isn't mature like Optimus and doesn't have the wisdom of being a Prime. So this leads to being more of a reckless and being unsophisticated and naive, which is the opposite of what Optimus Prime is. And in this movie, we get to see the road Orion goes on to become Optimus Prime, which is amazing, dude. And it seems like Orion is a mine worker instead of like how G1 he was a dock worker, or in other continuities he was a librarian, or in IDW comics he was a police officer. But with D16, aka Megatron, it seems like his upbringing for the most part is somewhat the same, as he's called D16, then he's a mine worker, and then he turned into a gladiator, which then led him to be Megatronus, and that's how he rose up to as Megatron. Anyways, we see how Orion brings up how they are just lowly working bots, and we see them mining Core 13, which is pretty cool. But in this shot, which looks that they are escaping the mines where, they were put in the beginning for waste management, we see quite a bit of bots here, and man, oh man. Alright, so in this photo, confirmed characters of the bots here are Brawn, Sideswipe, Hound, Wheeljack, Jazz, and Sunstreaker, which, yes, the GOAT Jazz and Sunstreaker are in TF movie, which is amazing, man. I'm honestly really happy since this film is animated. We will get to see lesser known characters on the big screen again. But as the trailer progresses, we see Cybertron some more, and my gosh, they did such a great job showcasing how Cybertron was before the war and how visually stunning it is. With the tall buildings and the bright lights, we also see in this, we see the Icon 5000, which is such a deep cut reference. So basically what the Icon 5000 is, it's a racing event where the best of the best racers race on Cybertron, kind of similar with the whole thing with the Velocitron 500. So it's really cool to see something like that, and I believe it was first referenced in the old Marvel comics, which is really dope. And we have this image of Megatron here, not D16 Megatron, but actual the big baddie himself, Megatron, and he looks great with the red eyes, and it kind of looks like he has a soul patch of sorts, which looks dope. And we see him drop a Decepticon insignia, which looks like he just forged himself. So this could be at the end of the film where they kind of split off and Megatron becomes leader of the Decepticons and he becomes the big baddie we all know and love. And what's interesting here is we see D16 look at and touch this face that looks like a Decepticon logo. And I know some people think that, oh, okay, this is Tarn, because, Tarn's like pretty much the only Decepticon out there where he has like his face is the Decepticon logo. I don't think that it actually is Tarn, but hear me out. I was thinking about this, and I've seen people on Twitter bring this up, so I'm just going to, talk about it as well. What if that this is actually the Fallen, aka Megatronus? No, not this Fallen. This Fallen. I know their faces are different, but from what it looks like, they are in this overgrown area, which you see them a lot in this trailer. And in this overgrown forest area, this is where they meet Alpha Trion. And why would a statue or a broken statue of Megatronus be here and Alpha Trion be there? Maybe this could be Alpha Trion guarding, the 13 Primes. I mean, if this is Megatronus, then the 13 Primes are basically confirmed, and it would make sense why Alpha Trion's out there in the wilderness by himself, just protecting these old statues of the Primes. And maybe Megatron and Megatronus are actually somewhat linked more than just the actual namesake, which would be really cool. And I really love how rich the lore is in this universe already by just showing this statue alone. I really hope it's Megatronus. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe a lot of people are reading too much into it, but it would be pretty cool. Also, too, it would be a huge waste to just have someone like Tarn just be dead off the rip. And also, too, like the size difference, like Tarn would be a giant over D16. So, I don't know. That doesn't really work there. But next, we see Sentinel Prime and some other guard bots being welcomed by a Quintesson ship. We'll get to those guys in a second. But we do see Orion put on a jetpack on D16. And what in the background here kind of looks like a gladiatorial arena, so maybe we might see D16 talk about how he wants to join or he admires the gladiatorial arena, because that's kind of like a big part, like I said, of Megatron's upbringing and his origins. But we do see them flying across this road with cars, and again, this gives us a great look on how Cybertron looks. And I also think this whole sequence here takes place before they get their T-Cogs, and that's how they get sent to Waste Management. I could be wrong, but it looks like they don't even have their T-Cogs yet, so you know, maybe Orion and D16 were just doing some rabble-rousing with some jetpacks, and they get sent to Waste Management. That's how they meet B-127. We do transition, though, to Orion and D16 and B-127, and also Alita 1 climbing this train, which takes them to the surface. And I get heavy Dune vibes from just looking at this flat mesa area, and then we see a deer get blasted, and then we just have Bumblebee running away. Obviously, those scenes aren't connected, but it is just funny for the comedic factor in the trailer. At the midpoint of the trailer, we hear Lawrence Fishburne as Alpha Trion, and he looks dope, and what a great casting choice for that. But once again, we see the main cast in the same overgrown forest-looking area where we saw D16 earlier, and then we see Alpha Trion give the main crew their transforming cogs. And I know some people might be confused here on why they don't have their transforming cogs. It isn't too far-fetched of an idea since they are low-class working bots. And dating all the way back to G1, oh man, I feel like it was the Five Faces of Darkness Part 4 of the Season 3 G1 cartoon that we learned that back when the older primes and bots were around rebelling against the Quintessons, they didn't even really know how to transform, and transforming cogs have been a thing as well since G1. So it's a different twist here, and due to the hierarchy on Cybertron and some class tier bots don't have a T-Cog, so hopefully that explains it a little bit better here on why these guys don't have their T-Cogs. It's just a whole hierarchy of classes, and some bots have it and some bots don't. So hopefully that explains it a little bit better. But for anyone who's confused on why they don't have a T-Cog right away, there you go. But we do see some silly shenanigans from once they learn how to transform as they go down this hill. But interestingly enough, we once again see more of these Quintesson ships, and they look a lot like the Nemesis ship. I'm going to shout out Inferno in my Discord for pointing this out. I didn't realize that. That looks dope. We also get a better look at the Quintessons as well as Sentinel Prime, and Sentinel Prime here looks dope. Definitely seems like a mix of Transformers animated and Dark of the Moon with like the back wing cape. Really cool design. We also see Alita do this amazing badass scene after we see Sentinel Prime where she just transforms into a bike, runs over this Cybertron Viacon looking guy, hits another Viacon, and then grabs the gun and starts blasting, which is really dope. I really like how Alita 1 has been in more TF media in the last 5 years. And what's also interesting here, like I said, these are actually Viacons, like literally ripped straight away from Transformers Prime. That is really cool with the Transformers Prime references. We also get another one here. We'll get to that in a second. We get a quick glimpse of a bunch of Seekers and a big explosion. This is kind of where the part of the trailer where just a lot of stuff flashes at the screen. You just gotta like pause it and see it. So we're gonna try and break all that down. But we do see a bunch of Seekers firing and explosions. And in that same area, we see more firing go off. We see this really cool scene where Orion goes off this ramp. And I like how his smokestacks for his robot mode, for his shoulders, are actually boosters for his truck mode, because smokestacks don't make sense on Cybertron. Why would they have it? So that's a nice way to make them have a use for his alt mode. So that's really cool. We see him tackle Jet in the next scene. We see more Transformers Prime references, like I said, as we see Arachnid, which literally looks like her 1-2-1 from Transformers Prime. And I really do like the art style of this movie. Seems to be a blend of sort of the Cybertron games, G1 aesthetic, but also that Transformers Prime aesthetic where they're looking a little bit more agile. They are cooking, son. anyways, we see the three iconic trio, Shockwave, Soundwave, and Starscream, and they all look really good here. I don't know why Soundwave is 80% legs, though. We also see some type of throne as well. Maybe this is the part of the movie where the Decepticons have already started the rebellion, and it's led by Starscream, or perhaps everything that's already happened, and Megatron's leading in, and we just kind of see Starscream, you know, warming the throne, as Starscream always is up to some type of shenanigans with any sort of Transformers media when it comes to him and Megatron. So maybe he's just warming the seat up, try to take leadership as always. We also get to see Alpha Trion's alt mode, which looks to be some type of like Cybertronian lion with like a horn on top. Looks dope. I'm a fan. We also then get to see Skywarp here, and he looks amazing. With a movie like this that's animated, we're going to get a lot of cameos and bots. I mean, there's already been so many characters we listed off in this video already that's in this. So yeah, that's pretty amazing. We end up seeing Bumblebee with a battle mask as well, which is a huge reference to how he looked in G2 as Goldbug. And I always loved the gold bug slash goldfire design, so I'm happy seeing it here make a return in this film as a battle mask, and the blue visor just pops. It's a cool, neat way to introduce that design without really, you know, changing the character's name or whole design, just having it be a battle mask. I'm a fan. We then finally at the end see Orion and B leave this building as they do a really cool transformation. And we also see like at the very end, we just see like Bumblebee slicing up the whole place, and they're like, nah man, like what are you doing? They're not even the enemy. And Bumblebee's like, nah, that wasn't me, man. And you know, he looks to the other Cybertronians like, yeah, no, it wasn't him. It was very funny. It was very funny. I am a huge fan of this trailer. I am very excited for this movie. I'm very interested and excited for the relationship of Orion and D16 and how D16 rises to Megatron. As if you paid attention to the whole trailer, his eyes go from yellow to orange, and when we see him as Megatron, his eyes turn red. So most likely we will see him transition to Megatron from the beginning to end, which is just dope. And I love subtle changes like that. I also think if the Megatronus theory is real, we might see a deeper connection with those two. And we do see a burned off Decepticon logo on D16's shoulder, which can lead to a lot of possibilities and theories. Maybe the Decepticon logo is already a thing, and it's actually more of like a negative brand to be put on, something that these higher class bots put on these lower class bots to show like they're just a lower class. So something like that could be a thing. We don't really know. And I think as far as like the Quintessons and like the main plot, my theory is that it's going to be really similar to how it was in the G1, where the Quintessons were the original creators and eventually were overran by Cybertronians once they became more sentient. So the Quintessons fled, and now they are back ready to take back their planet and possibly corrupting bots, you know, maybe like Sentinel Prime and those Viacons, turning them into just mindless slaves for the Quintessons bidding. And seeing how the League Guard is, maybe, you know, the current Prime situation, we could see how this could anger D16 and make him rise up and rebel against the Cybertron Guard, thus leading to the actual Decepticons forming up and D16 becoming Megatron. But that was me breaking down the whole trailer. Let me know if I missed anything. I probably did. And if you guys are hyped to see this movie, I know I am. Something like this can bring in more fans to the franchise and seems like a nice, refreshing take on characters. And if this does good in the box office, we could possibly see more animated projects like this with a deeper and darker tone. But I'd love to know your guys' thoughts, and I will catch you guys in the next one. All right, later.